I have made it no secret that I suck at the original mainline timeline Megaman games. Seriously, I'm that bad at them. Platformer games are not my thing. And yet I still put in efforts to take a shot at playing them, as the story of the Mega Man games is really damn good. And with the recent release of the Mega Man Zero ZX Collection, the final section of the original timeline, bar the Legends games, is now once more fully accessible to gamers who only previously had shots at collections of the original series or X games. At least unless you managed to get your hands on the now really rare DS recollection of the Zero games on top of the original ZX releases. For those not familiar with the Mega Man Zero series of the original game continuity, the Zero games take place centuries after the end of the Mega Man X games. In the wake of a cataclysmic series of events, humanity and the Greater Earth are devastated, with at the center of the crisis being Zero himself. The last creation of Dr. Wily and Mega Man X's heterosexual life partner, Zero is the origin of the Zero virus, which later mutated into the Maverick virus, a computer program that drives the machine race called Reploids into megalomaniacal insanity, which both X and Zero spent their existences fighting against before this calamity. Agreeing to seal himself away for the good of everyone, Zero is placed in stasis and unknowingly separated from his original body, while X takes charge to help the world rebuild, forming Neo Arcadia, a paradise for the last bastions of humanity and Reploid alike. Or so it would initially seem. As time passes, a growing energy crisis threatens the well-being of everyone that remains, and instead of, say, developing solar power or means of natural energy consolidation using the wastelands as land for such resources, it leads Neo Arcadia to begin exterminating the Reploid citizens en masse to both reduce power consumption and their scrapped remains to be recycled to power humanity's utopia, at the behest of X himself. However, humans as well suffer in this purported utopia, X's subordinates also attempting to pacify humans who appear to resist their will. In specific, in the short term being Seal, a human scientist, alternative energy researcher, and Reploid sympathizer part of their resistance that learns of and seeks out Zero, in hopes of stopping X's mass genocide. Unfortunately, Zero due to his stasis has lost much of his memories of events and the skills attached to them, which in tandem with his new body leaving the legendary Reploid of death and destruction far underpowered for the task at hand, with the Reploid himself unsure of his own ties, only that someone is in need of his help, and his time with X echoed into the deepest parts of his programming the need to protect, even against the decisions of his oldest friend. But it should be noted that the chief enemy in charge of doing all of this is not actually X, but a copy of him created by the evil scientist Dr. Wheel, the one who stole Zero's body and set many of these events in motion. The real X is our secret benefactor, taking the form of a support unit called a Cyber Elf to help in guiding Zero and Seal to ultimately defeat Copy X and wake up X's disciples to the reality of the damage they've done. 0, 2, and 3 expand this with the reveal of the Dark Elf, formerly the Mother Elf, which in turn first birthed the Cyber Elf support units, who as well was a component to the original Calamity when it itself went Maverick, and its awakening affected the world with the risk of history repeating itself once again, with the last game in the series permitting humans and Reploids to come together truly as Wheel seizes full control in a final stand against that malicious man's machinations. ZX's games in turn take the story further several more centuries, and both humanity and Reploids have recovered from the dark era of the prior games, only to find a new faction of Reploids and humans who covet their past dark history are seeking out artifacts called biometals, consolidations of power and remnant memory of past heroic Reploids like X and Zero, all in hopes of reviving Biometal W, which contains the soul of Dr. Wheel, and how its nature corrupts and begins yet another calamity. With the heroes of this new era, either Vent or Ale in ZX, and then Ash or Grey in ZX Advent, needing the assistance of these biometals to in turn Mega-merge, in Japan referred to as Rock On, which sounds a hell of a lot better, and use their powers to stop Wheel's cult from reawakening him, and beginning his schemes anew to disrupt the fragile peace that had finally formed, after all the forces that once fought him had all died, stopping him the first time. In a way, like the original Mega Man games had Dr. Wily as the ultimate antagonist of them, with rare exception, and the Mega Man X games had Sigma as their true villain, Wheel is the tying antagonist between all 6 of these games and their scenarios. Thus it makes total sense why Capcom would choose to release all 6 of them together, and in fact why they even managed to appropriately adapt the entire control scheme of the Nintendo DS exclusive ZX and ZX Advent to a means completely playable on a home console that lacks the dual screens. I honestly wish that Nintendo by and large had figured this out far before this, and created some sort of adapter technology for the prior Nintendo DS cartridges. Because for those who had never done it, it is a complete pain to either modify a Nintendo DS to accept a capture card, or emulate the games on one's PC to record footage of them. Hell, when I get around to reviewing Megaman Battle Network 5, I want to do the DS version as it's the most complete version of the game, with all the new things it adds in. But the emulator ROM for the game doesn't actually work with any DS emulators, as trying to do so either breaks the software or slows it down so badly that it's unplayable. So for Capcom to get this to work for the ZX games quite smoothly, frankly it gives me hope that we might in the future manage to see a re-release of 5DS or the Star Force games in another Mega Man game collection, paying service to the Battle Network timeline of the franchise. Frankly, it's more than half the reason I actually picked up all the Mega Man collections that Capcom has released for the Switch, despite me being entirely terrible at all of these games. Just in my own effort to show some form of support to Capcom respecting my and others' wishes for a new collection of my favorite sect of this franchise in the future. That is with the exception to the Wii U re-releases on their virtual console, but honestly, I'd rather have physical copies because I know the Wii U is not going to be supported forever and it's actually starting to already get hard to find one. As you might infer, the story of the Mega Man Zero games are actually really damn good, but the problem is the games are really damn hard. No joke, when I originally played Zero 1, well, I literally could not get past level 0 because I could not for the life of me survive long enough for X to hand over Zero's signature Z-Saber that can one-shot the boss. I never undersell how much I suck at the platformer Mega Man games, but these games, even with every advantage they give you, can end up giving the original Nintendo NES hard Mega Man games a run for their money on that title. Eventually, these games eased up on their difficulty to play issues, ultimately making Zero 4 a cakewalk in comparison. But if you entirely suck at some mechanics, you're going to have a hard time. This is then greatly to the Zero ZX Collection's favor, as on top of allowing you to play the Japanese Rock Band Zero versions of the games if you choose, which are even harder than the American ones, the collection allows you to turn on both a save assist feature and a casual gameplay mode which gives you maxed out boss level health, an assortment of the collectible items and features at excellent pre-graded levels, and a large cache of the game's currency to buy and upgrade what it doesn't, which is usually stuff you get from the core story so as to not screw up the progression. This immensely helps me considering my own gameplay handicap with these games, and others who might also wish to look into these for the story that is presented within. Though even with the game giving you the handicap, well, if you suck, then you're still going to die. A lot, as this assist only helps you so much if you still don't know what you're doing. This casual play mode I know is controversial for some due to a lot of older gamers being a bit snobbish and seeing this as a, oh, just good to play the game issue. But as my own physical and neurological issues can attest, some people just can't through no fault of their own as they did try to. But at the end could care less about the challenge, but merely want to enjoy something none the same. Thus that accommodation adds a great level of accessibility with the game. The capability to do such is completely optional, you can keep it on the original hard difficulty if you want, and discourage just hot swapping if a player's having some issue with the game on hard mode. You can't actually freely change what mode it is in, which is a significant element of this complaint by others. The game locks hard mode difficulty and casual play difficulty, two separate, distinct save files, so you can't just go cheating around it by changing to the easier mode whenever you'd want to. It will always be all or nothing. And frankly, if Capcom does get the message of Battle Network fans wanting a collection like this, well, as I've mentioned before in my Battle Network reviews, due to the lockout of some battle chips from Common Access, due to them originally being from promotional events or crossover tie-ins that required another game cartridge, their partial removal from the regular game files due to import changes, or just the plainly horrible drop rates for some essential game resources, or some of the restrictions later Battle Network games like before Duology deliver, no Battle Network player really stigmatizes anyone who just cheats access to all the game's battle chips for casual play. Or for some, earning the bug frags and cheating the Zenny for that matter. So for players like those, they would appreciate a similar casual play mode for just enjoying the story, as getting all of those things up front does not help with completing the post-game missions or content, building a proper battle chip folder, or getting all the other power-up collectibles that are out in the wild. It just removes the obnoxious grind of the games. Backend points, on top of the 6 games included, the Zero ZX collection also makes available within it your expected Capcom art galleries of all the excellent artwork made for the games by artists Toru Nakayama and Makoto Yabe, later also the writer to the ZX games. And honestly, their art serves as a reminder that I desperately need to track down the other Complete Works art books for the Megaman games, as the artwork presented here is just so damn good! Likewise, there's also a free open music player of the game's various tracks, as well as remix versions for several of the game's most beloved BGMs. And on top of that is a boss rush mode Z-Chaser for challenging yourself against your friends' own times. So ultimately, the Zero ZX collection is more than worth its price tag for supplied content, with it giving the feeling, alongside the prior collections and Mega Man 11, that Capcom's finally got a good idea of what fans want for the franchise going forward, and getting everything back out there, with the only games left of significance to see re-released in such form being the Legends duology, Mega Man X Command Mission, the Battle Network games as I've said, and the Star Force games, which I too would like to see re-released in a supportive form, potentially echoing how they accommodated play for ZX and ZX Advent here. Who knows, maybe we'll see that going forward in the next year, with how Capcom's going about pacing these re-releases out. I just know that even if I'm terrible at most of the games myself, then I'm among the video game fans that like seeing both the super fighting robots and the AI reincarnation of a human soul get their chance once again to shine in the awareness of gamers new and old. Mega Man Zero and ZX Collection is available currently from where most games are sold. I'm Shinta, and I'll see you next time. Honestly, I'm kind of getting in the groove of doing these rapid first impression videos for once on my channel, as opposed to having to wait years at times to talk about something I enjoy. And hey, if you'd like to help us out with that, please consider subscribing to the channel or supporting us on Patreon. Regular episodes will be making their way back here soon as I can get them done, and get them past YouTube's content ID abuse. The next Battle Network game review is taking me some time due to New Game Plus, but it's not the last time I'll be talking about this franchise in some form this year. Tune in to find out when that's ready.